It was the specific sound of a $1,200 pair of Italian stilettos being swallowed by the earth that told me the war had truly begun. A wet, sucking noise, the kind that feels weirdly satisfying? As I stood there on my porch, coffee mug in hand, watching the president of the Oakwood Heights HOA realize, maybe for the first time, that nature does not give a damn about your net worth. That was the exact moment Eleanor Sterling, a woman who treats the Geneva Convention like a suggestion box, found herself ankle-deep in the muck on my shoreline, screaming about community assets, while 3 charter buses idled behind her, belching diesel into the morning air. 40 complete strangers piling off those buses, fishing rods and coolers in hand, thinking they were about to spend a lazy day in a public park, not realizing they'd stepped right onto the middle of a 60-year-old promise I'd made to a dead man. She shrieked something about me being a selfish relic, her voice cracking, not out of fear, but from the kind of audacity that almost makes you want to applaud. I almost laughed. She made the rookie mistake of confusing silence for weakness. Just because I'm a retired electrician who enjoys a quiet life doesn't mean I haven't stripped a live wire or two and come out without so much as a singe. If you want to know why a 52-year-old man would go to war over a patch of water, you gotta understand what's buried under every inch of this 40-acre sanctuary. My grandpa, Silas, bought it in '62 when it was nothing but a tangle of brush and a half-mad dream. 15 years that man spent carving out that 8-acre spring-fed lake, plank by plank on the dock, initials in the oak tree that still leans out over the water like an old friend keeping watch. That's the same tree I used to climb as a kid, the same roots I stubbed my toes on, back when home meant something solid. Name's Arthur Vance. Spent 30 years making my living on high-voltage industrial repairs. The kind of work where if you smell smoke, you don't just wave it away, you trace it to the breaker and kill the power before the whole building goes up. When I sold my contracting firm, moved back home, I thought all I wanted was peace. The pine needles in the sun, the sound of the water lapping the dock. What I got instead was Oakwood Heights, 47 McMansions, and a neighborhood that believed lakefront lifestyle was something you could buy, not something you build. It was a shaky truce for a while. Polite waves, side-eye over the property lines, until Eleanor showed up 3 years ago. 58, real estate attorney, LA attitude, and a Mercedes G-Wagon. She washes more than she calls her own mother. She bulldozed her way into the HOA presidency in under 6 months, policing the color of shutters, ticketing garbage cans left out an hour too long. But here's the thing, I never signed her covenants. My deed predates that whole operation by decades. My lake is mine by law and by blood. It started innocent, her smiling at my fence line, claiming my lake was a mosquito breeding ground and sinking property values. She wanted me to fork out $15,000 for a filtration system, as if spring water stagnates. I explained hydrology to her like she was a kid. That was the moment I saw her eyes harden. I wasn't a neighbor anymore. I was an obstacle. 48 hours later, the harassment campaign began like clockwork. County inspectors at my door before sunrise, Miller, clipboard, apologetic, clearly annoyed, poking around my water line, testing water that's cleaner than the stuff Eleanor drinks from her glass bottle. He mutters, "Mr. Vance, whoever reported this is either blind or lying." But that's not what Eleanor wanted. She wanted attrition. She loomed behind Miller, barking about second opinions, getting red in the face when science didn't match her story. That same afternoon, certified mail. Letters so heavy with legal jargon it nearly needed wheels. Watershed obligations, collective resource management, stuff I knew for a fact was pure fiction. But here's what 30 years in electrical work will teach you. When someone throws a wall of technical noise at you, it's because they're hiding a blown fuse somewhere else. So I started digging. Not into dirt, into data, county records, property histories, Eleanor's law license. Under review for misrepresentation of property rights. Polite way of saying liar with a diploma. That's when I fortified. For case security cameras, private property signs, quoting state law, and criminal trespass. The whole 9 yards. But 3 days later, the twist hit. Miller called me, voice a whisper. Eleanor tried to slip him $2,000 to falsify the water report. That's felony bribery of a public official, no matter how you slice it. This was no longer just a neighborly spat. It was a crime scene in slow motion. That night, sitting at the end of my dock, coffee in hand, I felt Grandpa Silas at my shoulder. I checked the property values for the whole neighborhood. Every home within a mile had jumped, except Eleanor's. She was leveraged to the hilt. Second mortgage, maxed out credit. She wasn't fighting for the community. She was fighting for her survival. Secure community access to my lake. Her value shoots up 20% overnight. Enough to refinance, keep her little empire afloat. She was trying to steal my legacy to save herself. Her next move? Classic manipulation, an emergency town hall on shared water resources. No invitation for me. Found out from Mrs. Higgins, 78, tough as nails, can't stand bullies. I crashed the meeting anyway, just in time to see Eleanor project a 1955 community fishing agreement. Looked official until you saw it referenced environmental impact assessments that didn't exist in the 50s and Grandpa's signature, traced from a 1962 deed. I didn't yell. I plugged my phone into her projector, showed the original survey photos, maps, pointed out the civilian GPS coordinates her fake doc cited, which didn't even exist until the 80s. Silence fell like a hammer. You could practically hear her reputation hit the floor. Eleanor, though, just doubled down, hissing about injunctions, swearing she'd tie me up in court. Sure enough, next morning, legal letters flew, and a surveyor named Bob, the bungler Jenkins, turned up, revoked license, duct tape on the truck, and a map that claimed my lake floated in the fourth dimension. Next came the trespassers, rich city friends with shiny gear, quoting Eleanor's pending court order as they picnicked on my lawn. I met them with printed notices, motion-activated sprinklers, dialed for maximum humiliation, and camera flashes. Grown men running in $300 vests, cursing the cold water. But I wasn't just playing defense. I hired Diana West, a forensic surveyor. She took one look at Bob's map and called him hallucinating. That's when I started building my team. Because Eleanor wasn't done, and desperate people always make mistakes. Spotted her at the county clerk's office, pitching my land to a developer as a future luxury subdivision, promising she could force a sale if she got community access, openly talking about $400,000 in tax liens, that if she didn't close the deal in 60 days, she'd lose everything. Now I saw her for what she was, a predator gnawing her own leg in a trap. I pulled together my war council, Mrs. Higgins and her memory for gossip, my grandson Leo, drone pilot, Ethan Cole, journalist who loves a scandal, and Olivia Reed, property rights attorney, RICO case hungry. We needed bait, something irresistible, something public. So I announced the Veterans Memorial Fishing Tournament, honoring Grandpa Silas, open to all legitimate veterans, local news on hand, the works. Put up felony trespass signs, hid cameras in every tree, dock post, and birdhouse. Day of the event, perfect glass lake, coffee, and laughter. Then, 3 charter buses barreled down my driveway, Eleanor in the lead, 50 investors and cronies following. She strutted around, waving manila folders full of fake injunctions, directing people onto the dock, trying to sell land she didn't own, to men in suits, right in front of the news crew. Leo's drone caught it all in 4K. After 20 minutes of mayhem, I gave Detective Mike Henderson, old friend, fraud unit, the nod. He'd been fishing in a hoodie nearby. Mike flashed his badge. Eleanor's face drained so fast, I swear I heard it. She tried to bluff, but Mike asked the right questions. Are you a licensed agent? Got a signed deed? She cracked. Tried to pull rank, called me unstable, and on police body cam, admitted she'd hoped to force a sale for the greater good. That was enough for Mike. Ordered the buses to clear out, and Eleanor suddenly stood very, very alone. But a wounded animal's most dangerous just before the end. Next day, flyers on every door, PTSD hermit, stockpiling weapons, wild claims about me, threatening people. She reported me to the VA, tried to kill my disability, called up old clients whispering that I'd lost my mind. For a few days, neighbors who used to wave now looked away, kids steered indoors. Not gonna lie, that stung. But what she didn't know, Olivia, my lawyer, was building a RICO case. Racketeering, wire fraud, extortion. We just needed one last nail. Eleanor gave it to us, trying to bribe Councilwoman Baker, $25,000 at a fancy steakhouse. The whole plot. Psychiatric hold, seize my land, split the profits. But the councilwoman was working with the FBI. Leo's parabolic mic got every word. Waiters were federal agents. Flowers on the table had a camera. Eleanor left beaming, headed straight for the HOA general meeting, ready for a final act. Packed clubhouse, Eleanor in a $3,000 suit, launching a PowerPoint making me out as the suburban Unabomber. Her star witness, Dr. Kevin Sterling, was really her brother-in-law. Unemployed, failed actor, not a psychiatrist. When he finished his speech, I got up, walked down the aisle, unplugged her laptop, plugged in mine. Slide 1. Her $387,000 in unpaid California taxes. Slide 2. Her bar association disciplinary record. Slide 3. Dr. Sterling's welfare records from Bakersfield. Eleanor panicked. Mrs. Higgins and friends blocked her from cutting the power. Then, the audio file. Crystal clear. Eleanor laying out her plan to have me committed, split development profits, destroy my life for a check. You could feel the room turn. That's when the doors burst open, FBI, arrest warrant in hand. Eleanor in cuffs, marched out past the neighbors she'd lied to. Her brother-in-law, crying in a deputy's grip. I just raised my coffee cup as she shot me a look that could have melted steel. Fallout was swift. Eleanor pled guilty to 14 federal counts, got 10 years, lost everything. Brother-in-law got 4 for fraud. HOA board quit. Mrs. Higgins took over, new bylaws protecting property rights, and the apology my family always deserved. Real closure came months later on the dock with Leo, disabled vets fishing, the lake quiet again. My reputation restored, the neighborhood suddenly famous for respecting property, the one upside. With the settlement, we built the Silas Vance Memorial Scholarship, helping kids learn to love the land, not just try to flip it for a buck. Funny thing, Eleanor tried to steal a legacy for herself, but in the end, she cemented mine. You gotta wonder, though, about justice. Is it right to let someone dig their own grave just to make sure the trap's tight? Or is that the only way to deal with a bully? Let them throw the punch so you can finally finish it? I'm just watching the sun drop below the trees, hearing families laugh, knowing that justice, like a good circuit, always finds its way home. So, what would you do if someone tried to gaslight your whole town to steal your family's history? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to share your own story, because next week, wait till you hear about the neighbor who tried to claim he owned the airspace over my driveway. Stay safe and protect what matters, folks.